Welcome, everyone. This is Levels of Listening, and we're so glad you're here. Before we get started, if you need closed captioning, you can click that on your screen. All right, so I'm your host, Karen, and I'm going to get the presentation going today with just a little bit of context about our university before we dive into our topic. And we're aware that some of you are just interested in the topic, while others are prospective students. And we want you to participate today through our chat function or our Q&A, whatever your reason is for being here. And our tagline at Maharishi International University is home of consciousness-based education. And the word consciousness has so many different meanings in the world today, and it's an important topic, but we have a very specific way of using consciousness. One is in that way of describing our essential nature, which is that we are conscious, self-aware beings. But sometimes that can definitely get clouded over through our very busy lives. And here at this university, we've always very much valued bringing out being, the essential self, and that is done through the technique of transcendental meditation, which is a really, really efficient, well-documented technique for quieting the mind and bringing calmness, but at its essence, it's bringing you into contact with source. Sometimes we call it consciousness, sometimes we call it creative intelligence, sometimes we call it the self. So we knit that together, that idea of the transcendental self, with the consciousness underlying all of creation or physical reality. And that idea of consciousness is woven into the curriculum in the sense that we're always considering how does consciousness impact discipline or our particular department, and how does the unfolding of that knowledge impact whatever skill set we're bringing to our workplace or to the education platform. So today's topic is levels of listening, and we'll be very interested to hear from the program director, Michael Zwell, and 4 students today on exactly how consciousness impacts listening or even a coaching program or leadership. But just to say some practical points about our campus, the origin is that there were a group of young meditators in their 20s who had come from Ivy League schools, and they wanted a new kind of university, one that valued self-transformation and also rigorous academic study. So that came about maybe in the 70s, 80s or so, and we've been going ever since, and now we're an online university. And sometimes people come just because they have interest in meditation, and others come to be part of our community. And then we have all these degree programs that you can partake in. We're an accredited nonprofit university, accredited by the Higher Learning Commission. So if you need to finish your bachelor's degree, this is a good place to come. And we have a Q&A chat going because we want you to be part of our conversation. So let's just see how you're all doing today. And I'd love to know what brought you specifically to this webinar. Was it the topic, or are you a TM meditator who had received a promo? There's 2 ways to tell us who you are, where you're from, what brought you here. You can post something in the chat, or you can put a question in the Q&A. And those 2 functions will be available the whole time. We also wanted to mention that financial aid is available. More than 90% of the university students receive extensive financial aid. And there's a handy calculator on our website. It only takes 10 seconds, and it'll give you an accurate estimate on how much you could get awarded to cover your degree. So today's webinar, we've got 4 broad topics: the connection between listening, consciousness, and effective leadership, how different levels of listening reveal the subtle dynamics of thought and emotion, ways to cultivate empathy and clarity in conversations and coaching relationships, and a practical exercise to expand awareness and listen beyond words. So that's our introduction. We're going to meet our panelists, which is the very exciting part. So go ahead and turn on your videos so we can have everybody here in the gallery view. And I'm going to turn it over to the program director, Michael Zwell. So welcome.
So thank you all for joining us. Delighted to have you here. And this is one of my favorite topics on the planet. So I'm so delighted to talk with you all about it. And I am going to share my slides sort of as talking points. So levels of listening. So enhancing your listening can change your life. Now, I notice that many of you in the chat are, you're meditators, and a lot of you are coaches or in some ways in the listening profession. So understanding this, but actually whether you're a professional or whether you are just a human being, what happens, the understanding this can really make a difference in your life, because we are all listeners. And this applies to your interactions with every human being. So listening is one of the greatest gifts that you can offer people. And it relates to what level of consciousness you're at. And developing the skill is incredibly important. So as we go through this, I'd like you to be thinking about what levels of listening are you most comfortable with, and what's a stretch for you. So in the coaching and literature, it talks about three levels of listening that are very common and cited. And we've actually discovered there are actually more than that. But the three levels, which are certainly the first two we're all familiar with. The first one is where my awareness is on myself. So for example, if I'm at a lecture, my focus is on me. My focus is on what I'm learning. Or if somebody is criticizing me and I'm feeling defensive, you're talking to me and I'm thinking about how I can defend myself. So my awareness is primarily on me. That is, we all have that. There's nothing wrong with any of these levels, by the way. We just want to be aware of where we are. Consciousness is the name of the game. The second level is the level that is very, very common in friendship, in conversations, and also a lot of therapists, a lot of coaches work on this level as well. So if you're a coach and somebody's telling you their story, what you're doing is you're sort of lost in their story. They're saying, I'm going to give you an example here. So we have Thanksgiving coming up. And so somebody's telling you, I don't know what to do. I'm supposed to go home for the holiday to my parents. I've always gone, and I don't really enjoy it very much. They watch a football game, and I don't want to do that. Or it's like, I don't really enjoy going, but if I don't go, I'll never hear the end of it. So level two listening is, I hear, what do you think your options are, and which option is better, and that kind of stuff. That's a common sort of listening that we do with each other. And most coaches actually operate at this level, and it's sort of the problem-solving level of coaching, or even in relationship, or you give advice, or you that kind of thing. That's level two listening. Level three listening is actually is a whole deeper level, and that I'm not just listening to your story, but I'm listening to the meaning and the feelings behind and underneath the story. So what is that story you're telling me? Tell me about how you feel about yourself and what's your relationship to the world. So my attention is now on the human being instead of on the problem. So if I was listening to you talk about your dilemma around the Thanksgiving holiday, whether they go or not, I might say something like, "Can I share an insight? Can I share a thought with you or an observation? It sounds like your choice is between going and suffering or not going and suffering. And in either case, it sounds like you're going to suffer. So I'm not lost in the story and trying to help you decide which option. I'm helping to see who you are and what your beliefs about yourself and about the world are. Because that'll take you even deeper. So had a situation in class last week where somebody was making a decision between uh, had the opportunity, was invited to go on an adventure or to stay at their job and do something that was going to be, that would be sort of more, quote, responsible. But when he talked about his adventure, his eyes lit up and it was very clear, like he got very excited about that. And when he was talking about staying at his job, that was like being responsible. So it wasn't about making a decision of which is a better option. It was about how he saw himself in relation to the world. And that adventure is like clearly sort of a younger thing in him and exciting. And so the choice isn't about, which of these two options. It's about what direction he wants to go in his life. And once I was pointing that out to him about adventure versus, back the way I didn't point it out, it came out asking him questions. Then it became a whole different decision on his part. So my attention was on the human being underneath it rather than on just the options. So in the literature around this kind of thing, there are those three levels. But there's more levels, and I'm going to just talk about the fourth one here, which is in addition to being with the other person, with what's going on with them and what's going on underneath the story, I'm also listening to me. And what am I experiencing? And what am I reminded of from my own experience? And what do my reactions say about me and who I'm becoming? And what do my reactions say about the other person? And I'm going to give you an example of this. So most of you, I'm sure, are aware of the term passive aggressiveness, where people are not, by the way, that comes from the age two, uh, not being free to say no, and saying no is a part of the whole developmental process of separating from parents, separating from caregivers. And if that's squashed and not allowed to say no, it's going to come out in passive kind of ways. It's going to leak out. And that continues to go on through life. So the way this plays out is I'm listening to somebody and they're telling me about something their boss did. And I notice that I'm getting angry at their boss. Okay. That seems so unfair or whatever. And then I notice that I'm angry and the person talking to me is not. And I'm aware of my anger, and then I realize, oh, wait a second, what's happening here? And then as I go through my own process, I realize if that person was angry, I wouldn't be. If they were openly angry about what was their situation, I would be way more relaxed. So my anger is telling me about what's going on inside the other person that they're not directly expressing. So it's like they're transferring their anger to me. So it's useful about me and my possible enmeshment with them, but also telling me about them. So in that kind of situation, if I'm coaching them, I might say, so I notice I'm feeling some anger now. What's going on with you? And have them talk about themselves. So it's incredibly useful to understand me listening to me as well as listening to the other person. When I'm able to listen at level 4 that I'm talking about, it tends to eliminate so much of the conflicts that happen. And when they do happen, we can resolve them very quickly. Because whenever I'm blaming, I am usually not really listening at level 3 and level 4 to the other person, to myself. When I'm able to listen at level 4, I am staying centered in myself. I'm not getting lost in their story. I'm not trying to defend myself. I am hearing them. And I'm hearing their deepest thoughts and feelings about what's going on. And by being aware of what's going on inside me, instead of getting defensive and trying to like make myself not feel or something or defend myself, I'm able to be there with the other person. So the amount of it's not saying there won't be conflicts, but the conflicts will get resolved much, much faster than happen otherwise. So when you're able to listen like this, your attention becomes more refined and you're experiencing the other person at finer levels. So in both our EDD in Transformational Leadership and Coaching and our master's degree in Consciousness-Based Leadership and Coaching, we really focus on the person. Actually, our student is the main focus. And this level of listening makes a huge difference in both the ability to coach and the ability to be an effective leader. So what I'd like to do now is to stop here and to hear from our students who are in this process for themselves, and would love to hear exactly what the experience is for you.
Yes, thank you, Professor Mike. Thanks everybody for being here. Like some of you, I've been in another coaching program and had some experience with coaching before, so I wasn't sure exactly how much of this would be a repeat. I'm happy to say a few months in, it's been a tremendous experience in terms of personal growth, awareness. A lot of the things that Professor Mike was just saying about listening are very real and practical in the program. There are a lot of exercises we do to deepen that, and I've been just feel tremendously blessed to be a part of this and strengthen my capacity as a coach.
Thank you, Nahum. Samantha.
Yeah. Well, what I'm actually reflecting on right now is just how far I've come in being willing to be vulnerable in front of others. So right now I'm really present to the emotions that are flowing through me as I'm listening to these levels of listening and noticing how many layers we have oftentimes to sift through between our awareness and our pure presence being with another. One of the things that Maharishi speaks about, a little backstory, is I did the bachelor's degree here in consciousness and human potential. And he talks about the 200% of life and living that in our experiences being one of the ways to interpret that is 100% inner and 100% outer awareness simultaneously. And so I've really noticed through our courses so far that I've really been able to establish maintaining my beingness with myself while being with another and not self-abandoning or any of the past behaviors that I may have experienced in trying to resolve tension or be with another in their hard times or anything like that. So it's incredibly transformational. Even in the first 3 days, I was like, this is the most transformational weekend of my life, and it's continued to be. So I'm just really grateful.
Thank you. Megan.
Hello, everyone. I'm so glad that everybody's here. I'm in the EDD program with Samantha and Snezhana. And one of the things that's hitting me now, listening to the levels of listening again and thinking about how it has been applied in the last few months, is just how much of the transformation that I am embodying from going through this process of understanding those levels of listening, and the way that it has shifted not only my interactions professionally, but with my family, with my children, and with strangers that I meet. Being able to be more present with them makes it so much more of a rich experience in those interactions. And I didn't even realize that my life had the potential to have that enrichment. And so it's been a really beautiful process to learn about and to also experience.
Thank you, Megan. Snezhina.
Hello, everyone. It's so nice to be with you, especially with my cohort, to see them familiar faces and Dr. Michael. I just want to say that I'm so amazed and so thrilled to be in this program, simply because it's really a part of also who I've been living in these last 30 something years as being the TMCD and team teacher, and how this really program complements each other. And it is about, raising the awareness. It is expanding, your awareness. And I don't know how many participants are meditators, but you have probably some of the experience of, when you transcend and then you have this unboundedness within you, right? And then you go out and you still feel kind of a little bit bounded and aware. But this program is so amazing for me that I'm finding really interesting is like you have a tools, you have a means now to bring that awareness to the specific areas in your life that needs more attention and that needs more care, as I could say. And of course, in just these couple of months, not months, a couple, it's a month and a half only. Just in this month and a half, like this listening part for me was always very difficult. Because I was always like, all over the place, outside there, but like really to sit down and just listen to yourself and more, and listen to others as well. And the attunement wasn't that much difficult part, but really just listen others, and then based on that yourself as well. So I'm really enjoying actually to discover more of myself, discovering what is really my life story. And just in this month and a half, in this writing that we're doing in assignments, it's amazing that I am discovering now my life story that I already set it up. So thank you, everyone. And that's about for me.
So I see the question, Michelle, about do we offer psychometric assessments or personality assessments? No. I actually do that in some of my professional practice, but a program in being and becoming. So much of listening is it's not about technique. It's about, I'll just give a quick example. So there's a financial institution that I coach about 50 different emerging bank managers. So I'm talking to an assistant manager, and she mentions to me, "Do you can I ever talk about something personal?" And I said, "Sure." And she said, "Well, my husband died last week." And so we spent, the entire time with me just being with her and inviting her to be with herself. And towards the end of it, she said, I haven't talked to anybody about this. And then she brought out her phone, and she played a like 4-minute video that her husband made to her a few hours before he died. And it was such a precious thing for me. And the precious and obviously she wanted to share that with me. So that act of being with, and by the way, in order to do that, I can't be in my own head. I can't be in my own cognitive bramble bush. I can't be in whatever. I am there with her. And this is a real, I can't tell you how important it is. It's a skill to develop, to be able to, what Maharishi talks about is how stress gets in the way, that life is about, the purpose of life is joy. But that bramble bush of stress that we have that's in the way, that occludes us from that sense of joy. And that willingness to actually be with other people as we are truly being with ourselves is, I think, the greatest gift that we can give others. And it's one of the greatest gifts we can give ourselves.
We name dropped Maharshi a couple of times, but I don't think I mentioned in the introduction who that is. So I just was asking if anyone here is not familiar with Maharshi and transcendental meditation. Never feel shy. It just happens in our circle. We drop a lot of terminology, and I feel like we lose the flow if we defined every term. So just never hesitate to kind of ask about something if you mention it. But Maharishi Mahesh Yogi is the founder of the university, and you could say that the youngsters that started the university had the idea, but that Maharishi was very much coaching, overseeing, mentoring the process. And the thing about it is it was all very transformative from the beginning, very much in the moment. And if you think about a meditation practice, that is what the training of a meditation is. It's a practice to be present. And so what I'm hearing from this coaching program, and I'm seeing meditation teachers here as well, is it's almost like the coaching program seems to be bringing out a way to facilitate that presence in the outer life, which is a natural extension of meditation, but without maybe a coaching process, it's not always easy to tell how to break down past habits and actually bring in more flow, presence, awareness, because again, you can come out of meditation, feel expanded, but then fall back into habit. So now that I've listened in on like 4 of these sessions, that's just something I'm just going to add. But anything else about Maharishi that, yes, Samantha, you want to hop in?
Yeah, just to branch off of that a little bit, one of the reasons that I was so eager to come to MIU initially for the bachelor's degree in consciousness and human potential, and how it leads into this, is that it gave us as students a shared language to talk about the non-physical. And so we were able to engage in conversations on a deeper level because we had shared vocabulary and shared understanding. And so that really grounded in this ability to have those dynamic conversations with each other. And this program has done the same in the other realms of layers of the self. So in the fine feelings and in the mind and all of the layers that we experience in our day-to-day. And so again, adding more shared vocabulary has been incredibly helpful to connect us as classmates and with our faculty, to be able to understand each other in those non-physical levels.
Yeah, I'm going to add another word about this because, in the Western world, we learn about the physical world. We learn about matter and that all exists. But we now know from quantum mechanics that when you get down to the finest, smallest levels, matter doesn't even exist. It's all fields of energy. So, and then we have, what Maharishi talks about in terms of unity consciousness, which is that we are all the same. We are all, at that level, we are all one, not just us as human beings, but all matter. We're all the same. But there is a level in between those two, and that's the level of the mind. And the nobody is able to explain at the level of matter consciousness, our conscious minds. And what we're really about is that level of the conscious mind. So Maharshi talks about the absolute self, which is that self that's unity consciousness that we're all together. And our program is primarily on what we call the relative self, the self that's bounded by our bodies. And there are, as Samantha just talked about, there are levels of mind. So there's our emotions, there are our thoughts, there's how we put in things together, there's our beliefs, there are what we'll call the finer feelings, which are the things like the desire to be loved, to love, to make a difference, and so on. And when we're talking about listening, bringing it back to the subject, we want to be listening to all those levels. So it's not just the story people are telling me. There's all these different levels, and the better we're able to listen to that, the more we're able to actually be with other people. So, and really truly be with ourselves and be developing ourselves towards our own becoming of what's possible for us.
Did you see the question that popped in there? Maybe it might be interesting at this point to consider what then is impacting that rush to share your own point of view. Is there sort of a level there that's very, very active that creates that reactionary quality where we're in such a rush to speak more than listen? Or how would you?
If I'm walking and I stub my toe and it really, really hurts, my attention is on, ouch, my pain. You can be talking to me and I'm not even hearing you because I am in pain. The same thing happens with emotional pain and stuff that I have stored up. But the more I have stored up and is in my way, the more difficult it is, the more difficulty I have in terms of being with you because my attention goes to that stress. So what we want to do is we want to be clearing out our own stress, which TM certainly helps, and sort of doing our own processing, which is a lot about what this program is about, helps as well. So that because the more I clear out the bramble bushes that are going on, the better I am able to hear you and to be with me. Do I invite coaching clients to start TM? Sometimes. It's always a very based on who the person is and what the situation is to look at what's the right thing to do. Snezhana.
I just want to double check, Karen, because I saw that someone wanted to hear more about Maharishi. So I can start, maybe you can add too. So Maharishi Mahesh Yogi is the one who founded this university, 1970 something. I'm so sorry, I forgot the exact year. It's been a while. And, his idea was, to bring all thinking minds together and live together and study together. So the point of this university is that everyone practices transcendental meditation at the same time as the student taking all different kind of subjects, business or math or sustainable living or EDD. So this university is based on for the purpose of being together, practice together, TM, grow together, bring the awareness and all aspects of love that can grow. Karen, do you want to continue?
Well, that also, along with that, could you explain specifically the mechanics of transcending? Because there are some people here who don't know what that is, and maybe even how that intersects with transformational coaching.
The levels of transcending.
You can do that, yeah.
Okay, it is. You put me on the spot a little bit. So, they're not really there are some levels that we go through, but the transcend is just going beyond. That's what it means. It's just going beyond. We're going beyond of the relative world. We go and you dive in that so-called unbounded infinite field of energy, creative intelligence, infinite field of dynamism, and the infinite feeling of the silence as well. When we close our eyes, we begin to transcend, and we go beyond, and we transcend that, and we go into that to that field, and we spend some time in that field, 15 to 20 minutes, and when we come out, we bring out those qualities of that unboundedness, infinite source of creative intelligence, silence, dynamism all together, and we are applying those qualities into daily activities.
Well, first, I just wanted to add, based on what Professor Mike had said, is that one of the things I've appreciated so much in the experiences that we've been going through is that the coach or the leader treats the individual as totally capable and self-empowered to find solutions and next steps within themselves. And so, from what I've gotten so far from what we've learned is that, and my experiences with our faculty and coaches, is that all of the answers that I've needed and next steps have come from within me. So I could also see that where that ties in with what Professor Mike was saying.
So just to follow up on that, it's and I'm sure you've all had this experience. If somebody tells you something, the value of that compared to when you come up with it yourself is way different. People, and I remember having somebody, a mentor tell me something, and I said, "Oh, I got it." And then I remembered the 20 times they had told me that beforehand, where I said, "Yeah, I got it," that I didn't get it. It's easy of course, I'm going to say, "Yeah, I understand," when the reality is I didn't get it. So, but if you ask people the right questions and so that they are coming up with themselves, it's way more effective. Snezina.
I just love Dr. Michael that's what I kind of love the most part of it is we don't give advices. I know I never listened any advice in my life, whoever was given to me. The only time I was only listening by myself when I made the decision. So, but through this coaching, through your guidance, with the right questions that guides you, that you are searching in that silence is as you're searching and you really find the best answer and solution, the best solution for yourself. That was kind of the best part for me.
Thank you, Snezina. So there was a question. So is the level 4 listening kind of like wise mind? Well, I'm not exactly sure what wise mind is, but it's actually, see, when somebody says something, my first immediate response is actually what I feel in my gut. And actually, there's research that shows that from an event that happens, from something happens, it's like 10 milliseconds before we have an emotional response. And it's 500 milliseconds, it's half a second before it gets processed and goes to our prefrontal cortex. So when we're listening to ourselves, we're not doing it up here, we're doing it in our whole body. And we're responding. So the way it works, I know I've been doing this a long time. For me, if I feel a gut clench, then I look at, what's that about? And then I do the processing about it. So it's more than just wise mind. It's like it's like wise mind and body, because it's really a whole body response that we're doing when we're listening. It's not just up here. I love that question. Thank you.
I love this comment about the role of listening and how that brings out this creative force. And can any of you here speak to that? Like, as you're learning how to be in that coaching environment, can you talk about the energy of that space and how that's maybe transformed your just regular lives? I would imagine that would bleed over to regular relationship conversing. Nahom, you're nodding. Did you have some story maybe?
Sure. Thank you, Karen. Yeah, I mean, most of us, I think, are used to being in conversation around level one, where we are talking with someone and they're waiting for their turn to respond. And there's no problem with that, as Professor Mike said. However, when you get into the coaching environment, you become way more aware how that might impact your client. And so enough of the time we're asked to spend, time moving up the levels and to hone in on levels 3 and 4, etc. And that's a real skill. And so there are a number of exercises we're assigned in the program to help us get in touch with that. For example, our coaching pairs, where you're spending about 10 to 15 minutes listening to someone and you don't say a word. We're also taught not to nod or give any mm-hms, and it's very challenging for anyone who's very conversational. I can see Snejana nodding because some of us are a little bit more in the conversation. And so the first few times it was torture for me. I was like in prison. And I noticed over time how much easier it became to just be present with the person. And I was like, oh my God, it's like you're in a massage and the muscles relaxing. And so that's the emergence at work. That's what I wanted to add there. Thank you.
Megan.
I wanted to kind of speak to Michelle's question about exercises and talk about lab. On the weekends, we have our lab class where we are sharing very vulnerably and also being present for other people as they share. And that exercise in particular, in relation to our assignment of being with emotions, is something that is helping me learn how to be more in touch with my gut and my body intelligence. Because as my cohort is sharing, I then am thinking about how what they're saying is making me feel and where am I feeling it and what emotion is coming up in me when I'm listening and also when I'm talking. So that's just some practical examples of assignments that are being used to help us hone these skills that Dr. Mike is talking about.
So, for example, we talk about 5 core emotions: fear, hurt, anger, sadness, and joy. And the first assignment or set of exercises that we have is to be aware of those emotions every 5 or 15 minutes throughout your day, and be aware of where you are feeling them. And we have people start saying, "Well, I don't feel anything," or all I feel are 1 or 2 of the emotions. I don't feel the other ones. But what happens over time is people become more and more aware of what they're feeling. And that is, it's valuable in so many ways. One, for me to be in touch with me, but also for me to be aware of what's going on inside me, so I can also look at what's be going on inside you. Fear, hurt, anger, sadness, joy. So absolutely, anger is one of them. Now, anger is frequently on top of either hurt and or fear. Now, that's not true for infants. An infant who is angry they'll get hot, their skin will get hot, they'll flail their arms and legs, they'll have a high-pitched scream. It's very different from the anger, very different from feeling hurt or whatever. In adults, sometimes it's a cork on the bottle that you take it off and you'll get to the hurt or fear underneath it. But in any case, we want to be aware of it. And when I'm talking about getting in touch with your anger, it's different from acting out on it. It's to be aware of it, what's going on inside you. Because all these emotions are data for us. It gives us information, at the very least, about ourselves, and also often about situation and others. Nahom.
Yeah, I just wanted to take a moment to highlight some of the faculty and like my experience with them. So anyone who's been to a undergraduate or graduate level is probably used to having like an expert as a professor. Maybe they're a good teacher, but they're not an expert in their field, or oftentimes they're an expert in their field and they're not the best teacher. Well, in this program, every one of the faculty, like your brilliance shines through, Professor Mike. I know that a number of them wrote the emergence book. It's great to have a book that your faculty actually wrote and to read not only their expertise, but also their character in that. And then they're all practicing coaches. They're all, to throw in the ICF stuff, they're all PCC level master coaches. And it just makes you feel like I'm really doing it with the pros. They know their stuff. They know how to call you out on your stuff. And that is a remarkable thing.
Thank you. Now I'm going to grab it from here. I feel like we could easily go another hour, but we just wanted to drop you into the world of transformational leadership and coaching and give you a taste of how much energy and insight it brings. And I'm going to transition to the final call to action points. We will stay on those, so you can continue out the chat on the side, but the first thing I wanted to emphasize is that one of the first tools that every student will be taught is the meditation technique called Transcendental Meditation. And once you are accepted, you can learn it for free at any center because basically that fee is absorbed in the tuition. And I think what we're seeing here is I can almost see a counterpart to all of your exercises that exist within the meditation technique. Like there's also a counterpart for handling the feeling and dealing with deeply rooted stresses that come up. So we just wanted any of you that hasn't learned to know about this tool. And we have a slide deck here just to close out. Okay, so this slide is just showing you that any of our web pages has a handy place to apply. It's a very quick application process. This program, the next entry is in August, and you can apply for either the MA or the EDD program. Professor Michael, I'm assuming the MA has to be a prerequisite to the EDD, but I'm not sure. And then Fairfield is where the university is located. It's a small town in southeast Iowa near Iowa City, but it's got a very vibrant culture, great for performing arts. If you're also a budding artist, it's a very warm, friendly place. And another advantage is if you move to the town, it's very easy to access all of our meditation support and advanced techniques. And that golden dome right there is where people practice meditation. So you can be an online student and still live here and get the support of the town. Plus, if any of you have kids, there's K through 12 school that also enfolds the philosophy of consciousness-based within their curriculum and promotes meditation and wellness. And this is, again, for those of you who maybe have missed it, that there's extensive financial aid available if you need support for your degree. Otherwise, as some of the people here, you can work at the university and earn credit towards a degree as well. That's the financial aid calculator point, and it only takes 10 seconds. So you can get your estimated award. That's on the website as well. We wanted to emphasize that there are ways to interact with us further beyond this webinar. We'll definitely have Professor Michael back next spring. So if you'd like to be, you can go to our webinar replays website. We'll give you the QR code, and that will let you be aware of upcoming webinars. But we'll make sure too, we'll respond to your emails because we have it now, and we'll let you know when the next webinars are. You can also come for Visitors Day. They're usually a Saturday. Yeah, Saturday all day if you want to come join us and check out the town. And the tm.org, this is the website for Transcendental Meditation to help you locate a center around you. We definitely are a fan of meditation techniques. This particular one has a very efficient way, well documented, well researched for helping the mind transcend from the surface levels of thinking to inner levels of quietness. And so we usually have all the students learn within the first month of being a student, but it's always great to get a head start. So if you have any questions about that, please let us know. So here's a QR code. This will take you to the replay page. It'll also show you what webinars are coming up. And I see a busy chat line going on. So let me just see if there's any other points here. Yes, thank you. You don't have to move. We just like to promote Fairfield because we want more cool people here with us. All right. Any wrap-up points from the team? Sort of the free zone now.
Well, our programs, we actually, I brought these from programs from another university that we had started and that we closed due to financial reasons. We've had enormous success at MIU. We have 80 students in the program now after sort of a little over 2 years, and would love to have you join us. This is it's you can't really promise, but I have to say, I would say probably 90% of our students would say it's changed their lives, and I love that. I can't imagine doing anything more valuable or important or worthwhile than what we all are doing. So thank you all for attending. I'm delighted to have you here, and I hope you got value from this.
Nice. With that, I'll switch to the slide with the QR code. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Professor Michael as well. I guess they call you Professor Mike. All right. There you go. All right. Thank you, everyone, and enjoy your weekend.